Everybody, Dave here, Hidden Freedom, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to go through an HSA projections for my own account. In addition to that, we will also look at how you can have over $1.5 million in HSA by the time you turn 65 years old. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the HSA tab here. And what we're looking at here is my own account. I've only had an HSA since roughly about 2017 or so. I'm not really sure how new HSAs are, but I can say, when I started my career out, HSAs, I had never even heard of one. No company I ever worked for offered one. And I want to say they're somewhat new, or maybe that's the reason, maybe that's the direction that companies are moving towards. I do know this, that over the last 20 years, more emphasis has been put on me to pay for medical expenses. Even some of the early companies I worked for, I don't ever remember having to pay anything other than maybe like a $30 or $15 copay when I had procedures done or something like that. Now, I had worked for Kaiser in the past, so I had really good health care with them. But I'm just saying, in the last, 13 years or so, more, burden is put on me to pay, the deductible before anything even gets kicked in at this point. Now, some companies may contribute something to the HSA. Some previous companies I had worked for contributed like $750 towards your deductible. So, and this is not for everybody, right? Not everybody has an HSA. Some people might work for the government, right? If you work for the government, the city, or you work for the state or something like that, then you might just have health care after 5 years, right? For life, right? Now I did, went to the military, and I figured I'd always have health care through the military, but that's not the case. If you did not get any disability through the military, you're not owed any medical really the rest of your life at all, unless you had some sort of reoccurring condition or something like that. Why are HSAs important, right? Because they're triple tax advantage. The money going in is tax deferred, right? It grows tax deferred, and you also withdraw tax deferred. You can take it out tax free, I guess is a better way of saying it. So it's triple tax advantage. Okay, now there is some, obviously some rules around this. Okay, you can only contribute a certain amount per year, and I'm just looking at a single person here. Okay, so for 2022, for example, the max you can contribute was $36.50. For 2023, $38.50. 2024 numbers are already out. They're $41.50. And then going out the rest of the days here, the rest of the years here, I just put $50 in there for increments. None of those are set in stone yet, right? So they haven't released the numbers for 2025 yet. I think $50 is pretty, it's going to be pretty typical. But, then again here, looking for $38.50 all the way to $41.50. So, and then $200 here. So $50 might be conservative, but there is some increase there. But as those numbers come out by the government, then I'll go ahead and fill those numbers in. When you hit age 55 years old, you have a $1,000 catch-up contribution that you can contribute. And so that brings the total to $54.50 by the time I'm 55 years old in 2030. In addition, I'll also mention that they, with an HSA, you're allowed to do one rollover from I think it's an eligible account like an IRA or something like that. So the very last year is ideally the year you'd want to do that, because the contribution amount's going to be the most it's ever going to be, right? Age 65 years old is the max that you can have an HSA or contribute to an HSA, is a better way of saying it, because once you are enrolled in Medicare, you cannot contribute to an HSA any longer. So that is the reason why you need to max this out every single year, because you only have a limited amount of years you can contribute to an HSA. After that, you cannot contribute any longer to it. The other thing is here, unlike 401ks where the max you can contribute all the way up to the max in addition to the company providing a match. Well, if your company provides any contribution to your HSA, that is actually counted towards your max for that year. So if they contribute like seven, or just go an easy number, like my company, let's just say, for example, they contribute $1,000. Well, I can only contribute $2,850 then for 2023. If they contribute $1,000 for 2024, then I would only be able to contribute $3,150 for that year. Okay, so that's different from a 401k. The other thing is with an HSA, you can take this with you for life. Okay, so even if you got 1 year, you contributed money in there, and let's just say you didn't look at it all the way until age 65, you had $100,000 in there because the stock market did really well or whatever, and then you can start using that money to pay for some Medicare expenses, whatever those parts A, Part B, D, C, whatever the hell they are, L, Q, P, R, S, T, U, X, Y, Z. So that is another great thing about an HSA as well. In order to qualify for an HSA, you need a high deductible health plan, and that requires to have a certain amount of deductible and max out of pocket, I believe. So most plans nowadays, when you go to select one, they almost say, I'm talking about healthcare plans at this point, they always say HSA eligible. So always try to pick one of those out. So let's just go through my scenario here real quick. So I've already contributed everything for this particular year. So I just made the contribution for December there. So I've contributed over $3,850 this year. And I'll be moving on to 2024 next year. My current balance in my HSA at this point is $23,000. I've used a certain amount of money in there, I think, and that was a mistake. I probably shouldn't have used that money. That was before I really got serious about an HSA. I think I used about $3,000 or $4,000 out of it, but it is what it is, right? So I'm starting with $23,000, moving into 2024. If we, contribute $4,200 for next year, $4,150 for 2024, and then so on and so forth. Use the catch-ups in age 55 all the way through age 65. With a 8% annual return, we'll end up with a projection balance of $265,000. Now, that is way more than I had planned. I had planned on having a $150,000 HSA. Obviously, annual return 8% is actually, historically, it's probably not bad, but it seems a little aggressive to me. So if we even lower it down to 3%, I'll be projected to still have a balance at $150,000. If we go with, say, an in-between number at like 5% or something like that, then I would end up with a projected balance of $189,000 at age 65 when I can no longer contribute to it. Now, I can still leave the money in there. I don't have to take the money out. I don't even have to use that money. So my plan for me is my HSA is actually invested into VU. So if we scroll over to my HSA account over here, I'm actually into Vanguard VU, 54 shares at the moment. So that actually does pay a dividend at 1.5% at this time. What I would likely do is when I hit age 65, I might put it into something that pays a fixed income of, say, anywhere from 5 to 7 or 8%. JEPI is a good example, right? I do own some JEPI there in a different account. JEPI wouldn't be a bad bet, I think, because I don't need the growth at that point in that account, right? I need steady income to pay for those Medicare portions, to pay for my deductible, right? That was been always my goal, is to pay for the deductible for my healthcare plan. At age 65, that could be, who knows, it could be $15,000 to $20,000, right? If you have $200,000 in that account and you have, say, 8%, or 7%, that's roughly about $14,000 towards your deductible. And then you can also have Medicare helping to pay for those things as well. So that's my plan for my medical and I'm a pretty healthy person now. I'm working towards being more healthy. Obviously, for all you folks out there that have a great healthcare plan that's set up through your work for life because you have a pension or something like that. Like my brother's a good example where he'll have free health care for life at this point. This is my plan to pretty much almost have kind of free health care for life in a way, right? Because once Medicare kicks in, then I only have to cover the rest to the shortcomings, right? And I can make that up with my HSA here. Another thing I did not mention is you can save the receipts. If I had a procedure done in 2022, I can save those receipts. Okay, and let's just say I had a procedure done every single year. Let's say it adds up to $100,000 or something like that, right? I can start using those receipts in, say 2041, and take that money out tax-free to pay for those old receipts. That is a huge advantage, in my opinion, because I'm going to let this grow, hold all those receipts, and then I'm going to start taking that money out and reimbursing myself, and then you can use the money for whatever the heck you want, right? All right. That is a good little tip there, good little secret there. Okay, as promised, I'll show you how you can have over $1.5 million in your HSA. Now, this is a pretty interesting scenario here. Let's just say at age 22, you got out of college and you got an HSA right away. Okay, so to have an HSA, you can just go on the exchange at 18 years old. I'm talking about the ACA, right? The Obamacare. Then you can open up an account. I don't understand why anybody would do that though, because you'd probably still be on your parents to at least age 26. But let's say you weren't. Let's say at age 18 you went out on the ACA exchange. I don't even know if that's possible, to be honest with you. It might be age 26 only. But let's just say you could at age 22 and you got an ACA plan on there and you only made, a little bit of amount of money, and then they would just, obviously give you some subsidies for that. It's HSA eligible. You open an HSA, you start contributing the max to it every single year. So at age 22, year 2024, you contribute $41.50 towards it. And then every single year after that, you contribute the max. Now, obviously, I did $50 per year. That might be very conservative. That's why they're in red here, because the red just indicates that it's not solidified yet, that those numbers could go up or could go down, depending on what the federal government is going to do. All right, so we scroll down here. Age 55, you start the catch-ups at 1,000. And then age 65, you have the last amount there. It would be year 2067. The max would be 6,300 at that point, plus your catch-up. And then there you go, $1.693 million you would have at age 65. Now that is with a annual return of 8%. If we lower that down to say something more, kind of in between, let's just say 5% or so, then those numbers would be, you'd basically be left with $748,000 in your HSA. That is an obscene amount of money, in my opinion. It's like, I don't even know how anybody could use all that unless you got the cancies or something like that, right? You save all your receipts your entire life pretty much, then you can get that money out of it, because that's the goal. You want to not die with this large amount of money in your HSA, in my opinion. If you had that amount of money in there, then I would almost stop contributing to it earlier than that. Yeah, especially if you went to the 8%, right? If you go to the 8% there, you're going to have a lot of money. You have $1 million at age 59, right? You probably want to stop contributing to that, say age 55 or something. I don't know. The thing is for me, I've found that actually mapping out a plan like this is the best way to meet my goals and to kind of project how much money I'm going to have for my HSA. And I do that for everything, right? I built one for a Roth ladder here. I project out how many dividends I'm going to get, right, in a different account and all that. So I use stuff like this religiously, because how else can you meet those goals, right? If you have it mapped out in front of you like this and say, okay, if I contribute this much per month and divide it out, right? Right now for next year, $346 a month I need to contribute, okay? Then it gives me a mapping. It gives me a visual image here of how to get to my goal, okay? Now the only thing you can't control is the annual return, okay? But you can at least project that out by going conservatively. If you didn't want to invest in the S&P 500, you can do like a bond fund or something like that. I don't highly recommend that, but you could do a Devo, for example, where you get 5%, and it's probably pretty consistent for the next 20 years, right? So having a map like this is the best way to make sure you're going to meet your goals and have an idea of what you're going to have at the end of your retirement, or at least when you start your retirement, not the end of retirement, but at least when you start retirement, because that's, if you're like me, you're not going to have a healthcare plan provided by your work for the rest of your life, then you need to have something like this mapped out, and that's the best way to get there, is by having a plan sitting in front of you that you execute month by month, year by year. Anyways, that is the scenario there. This is included in the spreadsheet if you buy my spreadsheets, by the way. I put that HSA 2.0 in there so you can do your own projections. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this video, please leave a comment down below, and I'll be sure to answer those. And we'll see you in the next one.